Wow, that was awkward. And if you think you feel uncomfortable, imagine how I must feel. My mom just flew all the way from Houston just to see that. Now, because I'm already uncomfortable, and my talk is appropriately titled Seeking Discomfort, I think it's only fair that you guys seek a little discomfort as well. Several of you have a red dot in front of your seats. Look closely because the dots are small. But if you're one of the unlucky few to find one, I will be asking you to join me up here on stage for the remainder of my talk. Go ahead, take a look. Yeah, but I gotcha. Obviously, there are no red dots. But I think this slightly cliche activity has already served its purpose. Maybe you felt a bit of anxiety at the idea of joining me up here on stage. Same way you would if a teacher called on you during class, or if you were stuck giving a talk just like this one. Think about that feeling. Internalize it. In the next 15 minutes, we're going to use that feeling to do something impossible. Now, close your eyes and think about a goal that you have. It can be any goal, but the one rule is it has to be something that scares you, what I like to call your moonshot. It could be running a half marathon, raising a family, or climbing Mount Everest, but it doesn't have to be. It could be as simple as passing your classes or getting a promotion at work. The size of the goal doesn't matter. What matters is the power that it holds in your mind. Open your eyes. What is your moonshot? Got it? Good. Now, whatever it is, let's go make it happen. 2 years ago, I did this exact same exercise. I centered a goal in my mind, one that absolutely terrified me, and committed myself to accomplishing it. That goal, an Ironman triathlon. Yep, this is me. 12 hours and 26 minutes into the longest, hardest, yet most fulfilling day of my life. Please, no need for applause. If you told me when I enrolled at Georgia Tech that I would be an Ironman by the time I graduated, I would have thought you were calling me the next Tony Stark. Not only was triathlon out of my wheelhouse, it was on a completely different ship. When I signed up for this race, I'd never run more than 2 miles. I couldn't swim. I didn't even own a bike. But 6 months later, this was me. How? I started small. Not with workouts, but with something else entirely. Early into my sophomore year, during the height of the COVID pandemic, my roommate and I committed ourselves to a month-long comfort challenge. Every day for 30 days, we decided to do one thing that made us uncomfortable. The first day, we did something almost laughably small, something you guys have probably already done unwillingly. We went to the library and spent the night. The next day, we went a little bit bigger. We brought a speaker to the middle of campus, played some music, and we asked people to dance with us. And that's when things really got crazy. Over the course of the month, we became addicted to the idea of pushing our boundaries. We jumped off the high dive. We shared our deepest insecurities with strangers. We got the president of Georgia Tech to play Frisbee with us. I went on my first ever blind date, literally. We hosted an open mic night, and we became street performers for a day at Piedmont Park. It was a crazy month. And I know all of these activities don't sound like they fit together, but they taught me one crucial lesson. Every day, I woke up, and I did one thing that I thought was impossible. We all have things we think we are, and things we think we aren't. When I started that month, I didn't see myself as an artist. I didn't see myself as a high diver. I sure didn't see myself as an athlete. Which brings me to the final day of that challenge. I set out to do one other thing that I'd never done before. I was going to run a 5K without stopping. I'd never seen myself as an athlete, and so a lot of my own self-doubt came from the idea of not being able to achieve anything in the physical realm. But when I set out on that run, high on the experience from those last 29 days, I realized that I had the power to change that. When I finished those first 3.1 miles, I could already feel the blisters forming on my feet. But if I learned one thing over the course of that month, it was that I was capable of more than I imagined. And so, I decided to keep going. At 10K, my legs started cramping. The doubt was still there, but suddenly I had a way to fight it. put mind over matter, put one foot in front of the other. I reached 10 miles and I called my mom and I broke down crying. But I still decided to keep going. I knew that there was more inside of me. That night, I finished my first ever half marathon, something that I would have told you was absolutely impossible only hours before I set out on that run. The soreness and blisters from that night might have faded, but I will never forget that feeling of elation at finishing such a monumental task. I was able to change the way that I perceived myself. But changing the way you view yourself isn't as simple as spouting positive affirmations. We've ingrained our personalities so strong inside of us that it takes doing something more to transcend that. When we do something new, something out of our comfort zone, we prove to ourselves that we are more, that we have a choice in defining who we want to be. It took that first day in the library to get me to where I am today. Courage is a muscle. It's kind of like the butterfly effect. This idea that seemingly small actions can lead to massive reactions. A butterfly beating its wings can create a hurricane halfway across the world. I like to think that first night in the library was my butterfly, which transcended into a half marathon 3 weeks later, and 6 months after that, my first Ironman triathlon. Through the whole process, I still dealt with struggles and doubt. I failed workouts, suffered injuries. I even saw ridicule from some of my friends. But I had that experience to fight it. Courage is a muscle. And just like a muscle, it needs to be trained. It takes starting small to get where you want to be, to achieve your dreams. Like any other muscle, we start small. There isn't a gym for courage, but that doesn't mean we can't adequately train it. I'm not saying you need to do your own 30-day challenge, although it was a lot of fun. There's tons of ways to do it in your daily life. To finally take up your friend on going to the gym. Next time you go to a coffee shop, talk to someone new. Maybe wear a new outfit to class. I know these might seem like laughably small, but I've seen and experienced firsthand the impact they can have. Hopefully, you have too. The idea of discomfort has been a common one in the field of neuroscience for ages, though most experts refer to it as a growth mindset. This is a circle of all the things that you could possibly do. The small circle at the center is what we like to call your comfort zone. Things you would be cool doing right now. Slightly larger circle is the discomfort zone. Things that you could do, but you probably wouldn't be very happy about. Everything else is the panic zone. I'll let you guess what happens when you go there. Chances are, if we were to trade places right now, you would be somewhere between the discomfort and the panic zone. I'll let you guess which one I'm in. The interesting thing about this model, what scientists refer to as neuroplasticity, is that these circles can get larger and smaller. When you spend time in the discomfort zone, that becomes your new comfort zone, thereby shrinking the panic zone. This can be done over and over again until things that once terrified you become commonplace. Every little thing you do outside of your comfort zone makes the circle a little bit bigger. And this model can be applied to all sorts of things, especially learning. Students find that their greatest growth happens when they are solving problems in the discomfort zone. For example, if you were to give a college student a simple addition problem, something that is hopefully well within their comfort circle, studies show that their brains practically switch off. There's simply not enough stimulation there to generate growth. The same thing happens on the other end. If you were to give them a PhD level quantum physics problem, they will, or at least I would, be a little too overwhelmed to know where to begin. The result is the same. Their brain throws the off switch. The key is to find those problems that push what they know. Maybe it has an extra variable to it, but it still contains something familiar. There's enough familiarity there that they know where to begin, but enough new content to push them out of their comfort zone. In short, discomfort is the sweet spot for growth. Now, I want you to think back to your moonshot. Maybe even start thinking about some of the small things that you could be doing to make it happen. there is one more thing that we need. Now, I watched a lot of TED Talks in preparation for this, and I noticed that all the greats have one thing in common. That thing is an ancient proverb. This is the one that I chose. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Now, there's definitely opportunities for both of these in your life, but I can say with a degree of certainty that achieving your moonshot fits more readily into the go far category. I was fortunate enough that none of my adventures needed to be done alone. The 30-day challenge was done with my best friend, and 3 more joined us to complete the Ironman. Even writing a novel, my most recent challenge, is something I've been working on very closely with others. Having a community is absolutely essential to creating growth. And having a community helps exponentially. To test this theory, my roommate and I started an organization on Georgia Tech's campus. In addition to Seek Discomfort Club, which we founded in 2020 and now has over 200 active members, we founded Seek, an incubator for 20 college freshmen that guides them through the exact same journey that I've just shared with you. We started with the same activities that we faced in our 30-day challenge and tacked on new things from there, like a sub-freezing polar plunge, an overnight backpacking trip, and indoor skydiving. It was really fun. What's interesting is the results that we saw. Now, sadly, none of them have done an Ironman yet, though my fingers are still crossed. But I think the rest of the results speak for themselves. 8 were in their first half or full marathon within a year of starting our program, including our faculty sponsor. Many have already, in their sophomore year, become leaders in their clubs and organizations on campus. 1 completed a Guinness World Record, the world's longest game of hopscotch, which the entire organization came out to chalk and hop along with her. Every single one of these students cited the program as being extremely influential on their growth in their first year of college. These 20 students, who we selected based off of a couple interviews and a short essay, prove that this sort of growth is not only for a select few. You don't have to be built different to change the world. You just have to start small and find your community. Now, before we get on to achieving your goal, I want to reiterate the lessons we've talked about today. Everything in the last 10 minutes can be boiled down to 3 simple guidelines. 3 things that I choose to live my life by. They're something that I follow religiously. I like to call them the CDC guidelines. First, courage is a muscle. We need to train ourselves to be courageous. And just like a muscle, you have to start small. Second, discomfort is the sweet spot for growth. If we think about our comfort, discomfort, and panic zones, the answer for growth is clear. Induce more discomfort in your life. And lastly, community, the root of your success. All of the greats throughout history have had some sort of tribe to stand beside them. Find your tribe and push each other to new heights. It's as simple as that. Induce more discomfort in your life. Train yourself to be courageous. Find your tribe. If you can do these things, I promise that you will find yourself, over time, redefining the limits of what you believe to be possible. Let's start today. In fact, let's start right now. I'm going to help you take the first step towards achieving your moonshot. So brace yourself for a little bit of discomfort. Think about an insecurity you have, preferably one that is keeping you from getting your dream. Maybe you're afraid to begin. Maybe you're afraid of not being good enough. Maybe you're afraid to fail. Think about that insecurity. I'm going to ask you to do something crazy. Say it out loud.
Scared of failure.
No, not yet. We're going to apply the CDC guidelines to make it happen. We're going to apply the CDC guidelines to make it happen. First, we're starting small. Saying your insecurity out loud is not going to make it go away. But it is the first step towards exercising control over it. Courage is a muscle. It's also uncomfortable. You probably aren't the only one, except for this man in the front, whose heart rate rose a little bit when I told you to say your insecurity out loud in front of an audience of complete strangers. Discomfort is the sweet spot for growth. Fortunately, we can rely on our third guideline to help us get there: community. We're all going to say our insecurities at the same time. If everybody speaks up, nobody needs to stand out. And if nobody speaks up, then I guess I'll be the uncomfortable one. I'll go first. It's only fair. There was a time in my life when I wouldn't share this with a single soul. But with a growth mindset, I find myself willing, albeit still a little bit begrudgingly, to share it with an audience. I'm insecure about my friendships. I'm afraid that when I need them, my friends won't be there for me. The idea of getting knocked down doesn't scare me nearly as much as the idea of not having anybody else to help me get back up. All right, I'm glad that's over. Now it's your turn. Think about that insecurity you have. Try to put it into a few words or a short phrase or a sentence. Remember, this is the first step towards achieving that big dream you have. This could be the butterfly that sets you on a trajectory towards reaching your moonshot. So why not start now? Let's all say our insecurities in 3, 2, 1. That went so much better than I thought it would. I bet that felt good. I bet it felt uncomfortable. It might have even felt a little bit worse than watching me dance in here like some sort of buffoon or looking for a non-existent red dot on your seat. But you did it. You took the first step. There is a boundary between you and greatness. A boundary between you and your dreams. And that line is nothing more than a line in the sand drawn by your mind. A line in the sand that's keeping you from getting to where you want to be. A lot of people get it wrong. You're not capable of more than you believe. You're capable of exactly what you believe. To achieve more, you need to believe that you are meant for more. That your dream is not only attainable, but within reach. I'm not saying it will be easy. I'm not saying that it will happen tomorrow. But what I am saying is that once you develop the courage to step over that line, or to better yet, erase it completely, you will know, without a doubt in your heart, that anything is possible. And besides, there's so much more to life than comfort. Thank you.